So one of the first things I have to say today is you might notice my hand is free. I don't have my microphone that I've been using because I accidentally left it in my pants pocket and washed it in the washing machine. So I've got another trusty little shotgun mic on top here. Hopefully it's going to work just as well, but I apologize if there's anything wrong with the sound on this video. So according to the Parks Victoria website, I have just parked my car on top of an old volcano. I'm here in the Keilor Plains just northwest of Melbourne to go and check out Organ Pipes National Park. So let's jump out and go take a look. So as I said, I'm here on the Keilor Plains just outside of Melbourne, and you can probably see behind me that there's quite an even maximum height to all of those hills over there. Now obviously we do have some valleys that have been carved out over time by the rivers, but the reason that it's quite so flat is because this is an ancient volcanic plain. So Organ Pipes National Park is on the easternmost part of a really quite a large volcanic area, ancient volcanic area that stretches all the way over to Western Victoria. Now you might be wondering, why is it called Organ Pipes National Park? Well, the reason is some of the interesting geological formations that have been created here along Jackson Creek. So I think rather than just tell you about them, let's go take a look, let's go find them and see why it's called Organ Pipes. We have quite a steep downhill section here, going down into that valley that we saw before, but it looks like it's going to be pretty deep already, quite a number of meters down from where we started. I am already loving this walk, even though I know that this steep hill is probably not going to be too much fun to walk back up later, but there are some fantastic views out across the valley. So I am enjoying this immensely. We'll see if it is the same when I'm coming back up. I'm not a geologist, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this rock here is some basalt, which is volcanic rock, which gives a little bit of an idea about what we're going to check out. I've decided to stop here and enjoy this view for a minute because I'm sure you can see why. It's just a really nice spot. Great sounds of nature as well, but we are also in one of the flight paths of Melbourne Airport, so there have been a few planes that keep flying overhead, interrupting that, but when they're not around, this is a real quiet, peaceful kind of place. So while we keep heading down this track, we'll get a little bit more information here. So Organ Pipes National Park opened back in 1972, and before it opened as a national park, it was used for farming. So it looked very different than the landscape that we are able to see today. So it was very empty, just lots of grass for grazing cattle and other animals and growing farmland type things. But since 1972, when they designated it as a national park, Parks Victoria has been working to re-establish the actual native vegetation and turn it back into what it was before humans came along and used it as farmland. As you can see on the sign, there's a few things that we're able to check out today, but I say that we start with the organ pipes and find out what gives this park its name. You can see from the hill behind me that we're getting fairly deep down into this valley now, and I'm hearing something that I can't quite tell if it's the sound of running water or if it's just the wind blowing through the leaves. But I'm hoping it's the running water because Jackson Creek plays a very important part in how this park was formed. That's it. They're the organ pipes. That's what gives it its name, so let's go take a closer look. This super interesting rock formation behind me gives the park its name. This is the Organ Pipes, and it's a series of basalt columns that were formed from that volcanic activity millions of years ago. So what's happened here is lava has made its way into an old riverbed and has started to cool. There was a surface layer of that lava that cooled relatively quickly compared to stuff below it, and so as the rest of it was cooling, cracks formed and created these vertical columns of basalt. Then, as I said, Jackson's Creek, which is just down here behind me, played a pretty pivotal role in exposing those basalt columns by eroding everything else in the area around. These big basalt columns look like the pipes of an organ, hence the name Organ Pipes. And that's why this is known as the Organ Pipes National Park. So That's pretty cool, pretty impressive stuff, but there's still more to see. Let's go check it out. So as we follow this path along Jackson's Creek, we're heading over to what's known as the Rosette Rock. Now, I'm guessing you can probably figure out by now that this whole area is very much related to the activities of Jackson's Creek, eroding away things and exposing interesting geological formations. So, guess down in the comments below, what could Rosette's rock look like? Also, I think I just said Rosettes, but it's actually Rosette Rock. So, I don't know if that's going to change your guess, but what do you think it looks like? It's pretty wild to think while I'm walking past all of these eucalyptus trees and all this natural vegetation that just around like 60 years ago, none of this was here. It was all farmland, just grass, nothing else, nothing going on. But now, it's a beautiful, natural, lovely park. So, well done, Parks Victoria. Proud of the work you do. So unfortunately, it looks like the Rosette Lookout is closed currently due to being unstable and unsafe. So we're gonna have to take a look at this rock from a little bit further away. This big bulge over behind me is the Rosette Rock, which again is another basalt outcropping, but created in a slightly different way from the organ pipes. While organ pipes was created by lava cooling in an old riverbed, the Rosette Rock seems to have been created by lava again cooling, but this time in an old cave, which possibly was produced by a previous lava flow. So instead of cooling vertically and creating those basalt columns, this has cooled in more of a radial structure, creating more of like a wheel shape. And once again, Jackson's Creek, which is just down below it, over millions of years, has eroded away the surrounding rock, exposing this basalt formation. Personally, I don't find this one quite as interesting to look at as the organ pipes. It's still kind of cool, but it doesn't have the same effect as seeing those big stone columns, you know? So that's probably going to do it for the Rosette Rock, but we do have one other thing to go check out that's also in the park. Now we've seen some vertical basalt shapes, we've seen some radial basalt shapes. Any guesses what this final part of the park might be? Again, drop it down in the comments, let me know what you think. Now you'll notice that behind me here, this part of the park actually has a different look to it. And that's because it's not basalt, it's sandstone. So this part would have been formed from many, many layers of sand and dirt and silt from those rivers and the sea that was here previously, forming into a stone. Now this, if I remember correctly from my geology lessons in high school, is much softer than the volcanic basalt. So this is the sort of stuff that would have been washed away and eroded by Jackson's Creek, which allowed the basalt to be visible. But this is 400 million years old based on some of the fossils that they have found in here, at least according to the signs. So we do have a little bit of variety amongst this park, but once again, it's some more rocks. This structure behind me is, you guessed it, some more basalt. What we have here is what's known as the Tessellated Pavement, and it is actually fairly similar to the organ pipes that we saw earlier. Once again, we have kind of those vertical columns of basalt, but this time we're able to see them a little bit more from above rather than from the side like we did over at the organ pipes. These columns here formed in a very similar way, but over the years have been eroded down by, again, Jackson's Creek, which has smoothed out these rocks, taken out some height, and produced the formation that you can see here. Now the sign I read as I walked over said that you can actually walk on these and experience the history for yourself. So we're going to do that, but I'm not going to do it while looking at the camera because I don't trust myself to be able to multitask like that. So let's check it out. I'm standing on some of the columns down here by the creek's edge, and you can see that they're quite smooth and have been kind of filed down by the water over the years. We're actually in an area that's known as a rain shadow, which means there's not that much rainfall that occurs here throughout the year. One of those trees just sounded like it was cracking and about to fall over. Gave me a little bit of a heart attack. So yeah, there's not that much rainfall in this actual area, but this creek is fed from other sources upstream, which do get more rainfall. So in winter, this river can be much more full and can probably make it up here onto these rocks and actually grind them down and wear them away. Now there's some much higher basalt over there, which looks like it might be a little bit different. So let's go take a look at that and see, compare and contrast. I'm down here right on the water's edge now, and I was drawn in by the sound of that trickling stream. It's just fantastic. And this is a really great spot, and I am glad that I've come here today. I've been wanting to check this one out for a while. It's worth it. Man, it's so peaceful. I quite like being out in nature, but this spot, there's something about it that's like extra nice. And then of course, as I say that, planes flying overhead. Breaks the serenity just a little bit. This again is some more basalt, very much related to where we were just before, but as you can see, this one's a little bit harder for the stream to get to, so there hasn't been quite as much erosion on this rock face itself, and those basalt columns are much more pronounced, much more jagged, and just an interesting little difference in a space of maybe 20 meters away. Yeah, it's really quite cool what the power of a stream can do over the course of a very, very long time. Now this park is a few hundred acres, so we're not going to see all of it today, but we've seen the three main draw cards, and they're all rocks. So if you've stuck around this long, thank you. You either must really enjoy some geological formations, or you just have been enjoying the company. Either way, I'm glad that you've been here. Thanks for joining me on this little outing. And yeah, hit that subscribe if you want to see some more, because I have plenty of other places to go. But speaking of places to go, I have to go walk back up that hill now, so I'm looking forward to that. But thanks for stopping by, and I will see you next week.